yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle. My ego just like hates to say this out loud. I haven't felt that in the US and maybe not even Europe. All of that happened because that one night I was at the smoothie place and this guy walked up and I was like, I don't know what expectations you have of the digital nomad lifestyle. Usually it looks pretty glamorous on Instagram, but there's always that other side. There's always that other side that they don't show you. Like me, most of last week, alone in my Airbnb, scrolling on Instagram, watching random YouTube videos until midnight, just waiting, killing time until the next social event when I could actually interact with someone else that I knew. As I kind of close this chapter, the last 5 weeks here in Da Nang, Vietnam, wanted to take a video to kind of share the realities behind the scenes, interesting learnings around loneliness, community, socializing, and some of the wins that I've had before I head off to my next country. And so with that, let's dive in. We have unfortunately been photobombed by a group of girls behind me, but let's continue. See, I moved to this Airbnb the last week, and I think it was a mistake. Typically, I stay in hostels wherever I go, usually because they are cheap. Oh, it's going to be so distracting with them in the background. I'm sorry. I usually stay in hostels because they're cheap. Um, but I think I've realized there's another aspect to hostels that I like, and that is there's this level of like social pre-priming that you get just bumping into other people. See, I've had this goal. If you watched my video on gamifying my social skills goals, I've had this goal of trying to start more social exchanges with people, seeing that as the barrier to social interactions, conversations, and finding more friends. And so I've had this goal of starting social exchanges. And every week I try to do 4, 5, 6 starting social exchanges. And it was very interesting because the previous week I had logged 10, but last week I logged literally zero. And while I think I could probably say part of it is just cope and it's not fully location dependent. I felt like there was a big difference in coming back to a place where you're just all alone, versus waking up and maybe bumping into someone when you're brushing your teeth, or before going to bed. I mean, like literally last night, the difference was so clear, interesting. I got back to my dorm room and the guy on the bed below me was like putting his stuff back, whatever. And I was like, "Oh, I was shaking your bed last night. I was tossing and turning." And he laughed, and I was like, "Oh, where are you from?" And it's just like it becomes so much easier. And I think those micro moments make a big difference. And so, anyway, I think my point here is the reason I've stayed in Da Nang for 5 weeks is because, well, and only intended to stay here for 2 weeks. I've been looking for more of a community, more to slow down and actually meet people and integrate more with like the social events of a place, meet more people that are digital nomads and live on the road and whatnot. Because moving around a lot is like so glamorous from an Instagram like portfolio perspective, but it's just like every time you move to somewhere new, unless you know somebody there, you just have to restart your entire like social circle, meeting new people. Which I mean is there's uh, there's an upside, there's a novelty to meeting new people, but it's just like you don't know anyone, and so you're back to just by yourself. And I've learned to enjoy being by myself and be okay with being by myself, and learn to be independent. But I'm very slowly starting to get to that phase where it's just like I'd rather do things with other people, you know? And I'm not saying I'm doing a complete like 180 U-turn, but life is just like we are social creatures, you know? And it can get lonely. And I would rather, have experiences in life with other people than just do it by myself. And so I'm starting to enter into that phase. And so that was my first kind of story and point reality behind the scenes of looking more for community, looking to socialize more, and kind of the reality of loneliness on the road. So anyway, I've been thinking a lot more about socializing, communities, stuff like that, which brings me to my next point. See, last Wednesday, I woke up and something interesting happened. See, I try to post YouTube videos every Wednesday at noon Eastern, which is 11 p.m. my time right now in Vietnam. And I had been procrastinating on recording a video last week and the week before that and this week. And last Wednesday, I woke up and my literal first thought was, I have to make a video. And then literally the next thought was something like, yes, but people need you, you know? And that stuck with me. I want to talk about that. Like I alluded to, I've been kind of procrastinating on these videos. They are technically my second priority again. They were my first priority kind of towards the start of this year. But as I have been pivoting my business to build this as a service for creators, um, I have been focusing a lot more time and attention on getting that validated and building that up. Um, and really, outreach has been my kind of top of funnel for finding people for that. And so this is my YouTube has always kind of been more of a long-term personal branding thing. But anyway, I think I've been struggling because I shifted to my videos being a high priority. And so I actually put time and effort and attention into editing and making intentionally good videos. But then I've kind of moved back to this point of constraining myself intentionally, but I still kind of hold that perfectionism frame of I, I don't want to put out a half-assed video where a group of girls sits in the back of my shot and distracts my viewer for my entire video. But I'm learning to try to, I don't know what the right word to phrase it is, but like break that down. And so, one of the things that I've struggled with specifically when scripting videos is, see, when I write and when I script, every sentence, every word is intentional. But then you have to translate that to actually speaking the sentences out loud. And so I find there's a lot of mental effort, mental cognitive ability um, that goes into saying each sentence, but making it flow, or not saying every sentence, but hitting at all of the points that I wanted to say in the script. Because if I leave something out, then my perfectionism starts to flare up, if you will. I'm like, oh, but I missed that. Um, and so I've been trying to experiment more with outlining less and riffing more. And so that's one of the things that I'm trying to do with this video is do more just bullet points and just talk, just riff. And I'm structuring this video as more of kind of a nurture, relatability, authentic chat than a specific like step by step. Here's how I can help you video. So giving myself that grace, but yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle, but I've been, I think, making a little bit of progress here and there. But anyway, back to this. Like, I think my point is to give you a lens of what it looks like to record these videos versus what it looks like to actually be a viewer of these videos, and kind of the overthinking, the perfectionism that goes on behind the scenes that you don't see, that I see literally sitting here with my camera sitting on my backpack here. And so there's that angle. And then there's also been, you know, since this has been sort of a second priority, my main priority, I think this is the other kind of interesting thing that I wanted to share. My main priority has been building this business as a service for creators and actually getting it running and actually being valuable for other people. It has been very interesting to watch both myself and the reactions. I think I've been looking for this. I mean, look, like, best case scenario is you do something for someone else and they're like, wow, this is so valuable. Just take my money, you know? And I think I've been using that as a standard, as a bar. And so I've been running these deep dive reports where I basically go into a creator's channel, watch their videos, um, do a bunch of YouTube searches to figure out what other channels are in their niche, and look at their intros, call to actions, topics, titles, and look at what else is actually working in their niche, and look at the comments. I mean, I do a bunch of stuff. They have kind of ballooned in size. Some of these take like, my ego just like hates to say this out loud, but the last two have taken 15 and 19 hours. Some of the earlier ones took 6, 7, 8 hours. Um, and so I think it's like a combination of perfectionism with also trying to be incredibly valuable. And so the reactions have been very interesting because some people have been like, wow, this is crazy valuable. Like, this is the last person I gave it to. She was like, this is a actual gold mine for me. Like, thank you so much. And one guy was like, how is this free? Like, if you make a product, I will buy it. And so I've gotten those types of feedback. But I think my brain has always put the like, but where's the, how can I turn that into actually making a payment, type of thing. And there was this moment this past week when this is outside of the context of a report that I think is one of these interesting moments to share. Outside of the context of a report, I found this guy's channel. Well, he's in one of the groups that I'm in, and I saw some ways how he could improve his intros and videos, and so I reached out. I was like, hey, I've been kind of lurking in your channel, watching your videos here and there, and here are a couple of ways to improve, thumbnails, intros, etc. And he asked me like, how would you structure an intro? And I've been working on this like high conversion intro playbook, basically taking all of the high conversion successful videos and channels intros and turning those into basically like these are the building blocks of a high conversion intro, basically. And I took his last three video intros, and I remapped them all to like the high conversion intro playbook style. And I was like, this is so valuable. Like, did I really just spend whatever 2 hours doing this? Um, and I sent it to him, and I was like, here's what I would do basically. Here's what all of the successful channels do. And it was so funny. And this is one of these, like, one of the behind the scenes, realities. It's like my brain was looking for the praise. It was like looking for, I wanted him to be like, wow, this is so valuable. You know, how can I pay you to do this for me? And instead of that, he was like, he said something like, thank you. I appreciate this a lot. And I was like, I know it's not over. I'm playing the long game here, but just my point was making this point that my brain has been looking for the praise, and I hate this. I hate this, like, I don't even know what to call it, middle ground of validation, um, trying to be valuable for other people, and not quite at that self validating phase of knowing what I'm producing is inherently valuable. Still kind of relying on other people. And so, anyway, that's one of the things that I've been struggling with a lot, and that keeps coming up. But making progress on it. I think what I wanted to end on with this point was it's been fascinating for me to see just how much life is a game. Life and business is a mental game, a game of limiting beliefs, of awareness of your tendencies, self-awareness, getting over self confidence issues. It's just a mental game, and it's been the most interesting personal growth journey that I've taken on, which also brings me to a next point. I've been making a lot more intentional progress on socializing more, starting more social exchanges, seeing that as my constraint, going to social events, pickleball, fitness studio classes, things like that. Trying to make a lot more progress on that front. Um, Back to that kind of loneliness and kind of community social aspect of life. But I've also just felt a lot more confident lately. I've felt a lot more socially confident, and I've been trying to think about what exactly, or like why exactly that is. And I think part of it has been this accumulation of starting social exchanges with other people. Um, Maybe part of it is the kind of self confidence and evidence that been building from a kind of value business perspective. But one of the things that has helped the most is just that people are so nice here. And today I was I took a Grab motorbike back from this cafe to here, and the guy that the local guy that was driving the motorbike was so nice. He was like, uh, his directions didn't work, and so I was directing him, which is so funny. But he was teaching me Vietnamese. I was like, turn right here, turn left here, and he was like, I forget the how to say it, but he was like, this is turn right in Vietnamese, and this is turn left. This is straight, and this is stop. And it was just such a like wholesome moment. And there was another. I wrote about this in my blog. Um, I think it was 2 weeks ago, 2 Sundays ago. I was sitting on the beach, and this group of Vietnamese kids in this class, they all had these yellow shirts that said like English Street Learning Club. Came onto the beach, and they all paired up, and they were going up to tourists like sitting on the beach and walking on the beach, and they would go up and say like, "Hi, excuse me, I am trying to learn English. Do you have a moment to speak with me?" And so I was sitting like under against a tree like I'm doing here, and I was like, "Sure," and they were like, "What is your name?" And my name is Peter. Where are you from? And it was just over the next like hour to hour and a half maybe. I think I spoke with at least 8 different groups of little kids. They were between 7 and 12, and all of like varying different levels of English. But they were all, you know, what's your favorite food, and have you been to Hoi An, and like what do you think of the weather here, and how many people in your family. It was just it was so fun. The local people are so nice, and the the nomads, the people like the foreigners, are also, I just find they're a lot more open minded. You can go up to basically anyone in on the street, but in hostels, and be like, "Where are you from?" Like that is one thing that I don't get in the U.S. And when I was back last year, I I struggled to know what to say to people to start interactions, because I gotten so used to being abroad, where you can literally go up to anyone and say, "Where are you from?" And like that is your opener. Where are you from? How long have you been here? Where are you going next? It's like the questions to ask are so much easier. Whereas like when you're in the U.S., if you ask like where are you from, it doesn't really make any sense. And so anyway, my point being, I have felt a lot more socially confident, and the people here are so nice. I have been going back to Adobo Mexican Grill and eating dinner like every single night, almost every, well, at least a couple times a week. And the restaurant people have recognized me and they remember me. And I went back on Sunday, and instead of ordering a burrito bowl, I ordered a burrito. And one of the staff girls came over, and she was like, "You ordered a burrito this time?" Like I had to go back and check with the kitchen. And I was like, "Oh, that's so funny." Um, so anyway, it helps. I haven't felt that in the U.S. and maybe not even Europe, but it's just one thing that I like about being out here. It's just how nice people are, and I think that has helped with the kind of gaining momentum in terms of social confidence. I will end with one last story that I really liked, and then I will give you my outro. I, as an example of this kind of social progress, I have been amazed at just how much it's like just how crazy life can be. I think I think it's called the butterfly effect. How just like the flap of a butterfly's wings can have downstream effects on like bigger, dominoes. I don't exactly know how to start this story, but last Sunday I ended up at a coffee shop with a girl, life coach, and we talked for 3 hours about life, like deep conversation about just life and lessons and travel, and it was a fantastic conversation. And the reason I was there, the only reason that I was there, is because maybe 4 weeks ago I was walking down the street and I stopped by this local smoothie place, and I ordered a smoothie, and this guy came up next to me and he ordered a smoothie, and he was wearing this shirt that said Nomad Fest. And I've seen these flyers all over Da Nang for Nomad Fest. And I went up to him and I was like, "Excuse me, I saw your shirt says Nomad Fest. Like I've seen all of these flyers around. Like what is it?" And I started an exchange with him. He was like, "Oh, it's this event for nomads and entrepreneurs, and a whole bunch of like meditation and speaking events and networking and all this stuff." And I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." And he was like, "Yeah, I've been speaking at a couple of events. I'm a life coach, whatever." And um, I have been curious about life coaching as a long term goal. And so I was like, "Ah, interesting. Let me ask you about that." I was like, "How did you get into it? Whatever." And he sits me down And he's like, "Do you have 5 minutes? I'll go through what it looks like to be like what a coaching session looks like." And so we talk for 10 minutes, and I'm like, "This was fantastic." We exchange Instagrams, and he sends me a message like the next day. He's like, "We're having a free group coaching session on Saturday. You should come." And I'm like, "Sure, why not?" And I go, and one of the other life coaches there were like four or five. I ended up talking with, most of them, and we exchanged Instagrams. It was this girl, life coach, and um, and so from that group coaching, I met this girl, and like 3 days later, I was at a cafe working, and she like walked in, and she was like, "Oh, I saw your Instagram bio, and I like what can you tell me more about what you do? Because I'm trying to get into YouTube more intentionally." Um, and she became a lead for my reports, who I did a deep dive for, and eventually she was like, "Hey, do you want to grab coffee?" And so I was like, it's just wild how these things happen. And this has been kind of like a mind warp, because in some regards, you just don't know what can happen just by such small acts. It's like I'm 3 hours deep in a conversation about life and ego and life lessons, and all of that happened. All of that happened because that one night I was at the smoothie place, and this guy walked up, and I was like, "Hey, I see your shirt. Like, what is that?" And it's like, I don't know. It's just wild. Anyway, to wrap this up, sharing some of the realities behind the loneliness of living on the road, meeting other people, struggling with social exchanges, going to social events, the kind of external desire for praise and validation, as well as kind of the progress that I've made socially, and feeling just a lot more confident, self confident lately, and how good that has felt, and some of the interesting stories from the last 5 weeks. If you've watched some of my other content, thank you. And if you if this is your first video, welcome. Thank you for watching. You might like some of my other videos, like my life story, life philosophy video. I will link to some videos down below. If you are a creator, you might like some of my videos on how I'm breaking down other creators using YouTube in a high conversion fashion. And with that, I will see you in the next one. Headed to Bali in a couple days. Very excited to be back. And with that, I have no idea how long I will be there, which is a question I keep getting asked. I do not know, but we will figure it out. See you in the next one. Peace. Oh, let's just use it. Oh, okay. Do you want to be in my YouTube video? Never mind. And I lost my train of thought. Look for the butt imprint. There we go. This video is supposed to be like mostly raw anyway, so I think we just have to freaking go for it. This is not going to be a viral hit.